everyone, my name is Becky Thompson from the YouTube channel Power Tools with Thread. I have been a home embroiderer for many years, and before I was a home embroiderer, I was a quilter. When I had my first home embroidery machine, the biggest hoop size I could have on it was a 5x7. And being a quilter, I looked around for a method or some way for me to finish my quilting projects in my embroidery machine. Well, Designs by JuJu has made that happen. Whether you have the small 4x4 hoop or you have the largest hoop on the market today, the 10x16, Designs by JuJu has come out with end-to-end quilting designs for your embroidery machine that will mimic what a pantograph quilting design would look like using a long arm quilting machine. This is so fun and it is so easy, and I'm excited to be here to give you some tips and tricks on how to have a successful quilting project using Designs by JuJu's end-to-end quilting designs for all over embroidery on your quilting projects. These end-to-end all over quilting designs are perfect to finish your placemats, table runners, smaller quilts, even bigger quilts. Whether you have the small 4x4 hoop or the largest hoop on the market right now, the 10x16, you're going to be able to use these designs to finish your quilting on your projects. These designs are all digitized so that they have a specific start and a definite stop. There is no backtracking or double stitching in any of these designs, regardless of the size that you use. These designs can be used horizontally or vertically. They are designed and engineered with exact end-to-end precision so that where one leaves off, the next one can start, and there will be no visible start or stop stitching points on your project. You will not be able to tell where one block ends and another one begins. You may have questions about the batting that you would want to use in your project. You can certainly use any loft batting that you would like, any size of loft, or you can use a cotton or a poly, whatever you like. However, you may want to take into consideration the ability or not of your embroidery machine to raise or lower the embroidery foot. If you are going to use a batting with a higher loft, you're going to want to have the ability to be able to raise that embroidery foot so that as it passes over the edges of the project, it's not going to get hung up or caught. In this project right here, this is a small wall hanging that I made using the Designs by JuJu end-to-end quilting designs. I chose their flamingos. Let me show you the back. I chose the flamingos and the palm trees. It was so easy to do this, and this can be done in a small hoop or a large hoop. I was able to use the Brother PR 1055 back here with the new wide quilting table and the magnetic frame. If you have a magnetic frame, this is going to make your life so much easier when it comes time to move your project around in the hoop. But it can also be done with a traditional hooping system, and I will also show you how to do that. You're going to want to adhere the batting to the backing and to the top of your project. I do not recommend putting a pin in your project if you intend on completing it using an embroidery design in your embroidery machine. That way you will never have a chance of accidentally leaving one in there. You can use any kind of adhesive spray, 505 or KK2000. You're going to want to use embroidery tape. This is paper tape. I will put a link to this below. And you want to go around and tape all the way around the open edges on the sides of the top and batting. That is to prevent the embroidery foot from getting caught up underneath. When you tape it, I suggest that you tape it within 1/4 inch of the edge of the top fabric. That way, when it's time to remove it and trim your project when it's finished and trim it away from the backing piece, if there's any tape that's left on your project, it can be covered with either binding, or if you do the flip and turn method to finish, like it for a placemat, say, you may want to make your top large enough so that you can cut away the tape altogether before you finish it. You'll notice how much larger my backing is than my project. This is because you want to make sure that no matter where the project is in your hoop, whatever portion that you're working on in your hoop, you have enough fabric available to be able to hoop it, and you can capture that fabric inside the hoop to keep it taut and smooth. You do not need to use stabilizer when you do this method. Essentially, the back of your fabric is going to be the stabilizer that you will put in the hoop. You would use regular embroidery thread in your project, and I recommend that you use bobbins the same color as your backing, or something that blends in very nice with your backing. When determining the size of the design to use, I recommend that you do a printout. This is a design from the 5x7 hoop size, and I've got 2 little pieces of tape on it. The size of the design that you use is completely up to you. You can go, as you know, as large as your largest hoop, and if you want a very wide quilting design, then you would choose a larger size design to use. If you wanted a narrow or more dense quilting design, you would choose a smaller one. The size is going to be based on the scale of design that you want stitched on your project. I recommend that you print out the design that you're going to use, and if you have print and stick target paper from Designs and Machine Embroidery, that works absolutely wonderful. My preferred method to use a template on your quilting project is to use print and stick target paper from Designs and Machine Embroidery. This print and stick target paper allows you to print out your design in your printer, and it will stick repeatedly anywhere over and over that you need to move your template. You can also easily use the snowman positioning system if your system uses that. Another very helpful tool when you are positioning your project is the Designs and Machine Embroidery Monster Snap Hoops. It allows you to just lift up the top. You can remove your template, reposition your project, put your template back on, and rehoop. It doesn't get any easier than that. To create your own template, you can hoop a piece of cutaway stabilizer and stitch out the design using this exact same size hoop that you will be using when you quilt your project. Once your template has finished stitching out, take the grid that came with the hoop, and you want to place it in the hoop and make sure it's seated properly on the little tabs. And then take a marker, and you want to mark center, left and right, top and bottom, so that you can draw your own grid lines on your template. Remove the grid and then remove the template from the hoop. Now you'll want to take a ruler and align it with the marks you made on the template, and draw a vertical line and a horizontal line on your template. Then take your ruler, and you want to trim your template as close as possible to the start and stop stitch points on the template. Use the grid that you drew on the template and align it with your ruler to get it straight. And you want to trim all 4 sides. And now your template is ready for use. The only math that is involved in this is to determine the number of rows that you're going to want to put on your project, and that is going to be determined based on the size of the design that you choose. When you are beginning to stitch out your design, I recommend that you start somewhere on an edge in the middle and then work your way out to the outside of the project. If you start at the top and work your way down, if you have a very long project, you may find your project gets bunched up around in the machine, especially if you have a multi-needle like this. There's not a lot of throat space back there. When I did the flamingo quilt, I stitched it from the center down and turned it around and then stitched it from the center to the other end. So you can figure out the size of your top and then how many rows will work. For this one, it looks like 3 will be fine. So I will stitch the middle first from one side to the other, and then I'll stitch the top, and then I'll stitch the bottom, making sure that the rows are evenly spaced on each one. Again, I recommend that you print your design. When you're beginning to stitch this out, if you have a magnetic hoop, you will definitely want to use that. It is so much easier to lift the magnetic hoop up, or in the case of the one with the Brother PR 1055 I have back here, it has a magnetic hoop with multiple magnetic pieces that I can just slide the design around. That is very helpful to maintain alignment of your project. If you have a camera system, it makes it very easy to align the design on the screen based on the image that you scanned when you went over it with the camera system of the machine. If you do not have a camera system, you're going to want to use your hoop, enlarge your hoop as wide as it will go and still hold together so that you can recess the 3 layers of the fabric in here and get a nice tight hooping. And you want to be sure to use the grid that came with the hoop system, and you'll want to put it over the design and make sure that it's going to fit properly, and then remove the grid and remove the design, and you'll be fine and ready to go. Where the crosshair is on the template design on the target paper, I put my finger on that, and I want to get that just over the needle plate. And again, it does not have to be straight. And I'm going to put my magnets on. Because I'm going to move this direction, I'm going to take my smaller magnet and put it down here on the end, because I'm going to leave those attached when it's time to move. That's another beautiful part of this multi-pieced magnet hoop, is that you don't have to remove the entire thing, and you can maintain the alignment on your project. This is the screen, and I'm going to hit USB because that's where my design is. This is my flamingos. It says it's too large for that. That's fine. And it automatically put it in, and you need to pay attention to the orientation. This is upside down. So I'm going to hit set, and then I'm going to hit rotate, and I want to rotate 90 degrees. There is a camera right here, and I'm just going to hit the camera button and tell it okay. Now you can see where the paper is in relation to the design. And we need these points right here to be exact and match. So I need to nudge the design over just a little bit. And sometimes it's easier to move it with the pen. It needs to rotate just a little bit. There, that's pretty close, where the design on the screen is overlaying the design on the paper. And now I'm going to hit Edit End and Embroidery. Now I'm going to peel this paper off. It's very strong, it doesn't tear. And you're smart to put it back on its backing, and we are ready to go. I want to start in the center, and I'm going to take the top of the design and place it just over the edge in about the middle of the project. It doesn't have to be exact. I have some tape on here to just kind of hold it in place. Again, do not use pins. Now I'm going to take the grid that came with my hoop and put the grid in the hoop. And now I know I want the crosshair of the grid on top of the crosshair of the template. And then I'm just going to slide my hoop underneath. This is the old school way. I'm going to hold this as tightly as I can and slide that bottom hoop in. And then pull and kind of align this the best I can to get the center of the crosshair in the center hole. And then push the hoop top into the bottom. That looks really good. And now I'm going to lift this up, recess it just a little bit, and screw tightly. It's very important to use the grid that comes with your embroidery hoop if you have a system that does not have a camera, because you need to make sure once you remove the grid that your needle comes down exactly at the center of the crosshair on the template. Once you're comfortable with that, you can remove the template and begin stitching. I'm going to use a little friction pen so that you can see the end of the stitching happened right here. I'm going to put a little crosshair right there. That is the last spot for the stitching on that design. So I'm going to remove it from the hoop. Again, before you hoop this, you want to make sure that your bottom hoop is very loose so it's easy to hoop the 3 layers at one time. I'm going to place the template so that the first stitch lines up on the crosshair. Make sure it is level and straight, and kind of tape it down again. And I want to put my grid into the top hoop, place it directly over the crosshairs and line up the lines with the lines on the template, and then slide this in. That looks really good right there. Take a look. Tighten this down, recess it just a little bit to make sure that it's in. Take it over to the machine. Now that you have your hoop installed, I'm going to remove the grid. So I'm going to remove the template. And the way you do it is on most machines, there is a needle plus minus button. And I want to hit the +1. And you want to make sure that that is going to come down on top of the stitch where it ended. And it looks like it is. It could use just, if you tug it at all, you run the risk of popping it out of the hoop. This looks pretty good. So I'm going to hold on to my embroidery thread. Most machines have the ability to manually drop your needle. I want to do that and then bring it back up. And then I'm going to raise my presser foot and I'm going to grab a hold of that bobbin thread and pull it up to the top and hold on to them both. I'm going to lower the presser foot and I'm just going to press the button to start the pattern. Let it tie off. Stop it. and get my scissors and trim away the tails, and we're ready to go. And I want to show you up close how perfect that is. It lined up perfectly, right on that little crosshair. I'm going to finish stitching. So you see, you don't have to have a fancy system with a camera to use these designs and make them work for you. I've finished this second pass right here, and I want to show you. I just have this at my ironing board. I erased the crosshair. Let me get you in close. You cannot tell where it started and stopped. So that's it. I hope that you give Designs by JuJu's end-to-end all over quilting designs a try. If you have thought that you've been stuck just finishing your quilting projects by using free motion quilting on your domestic sewing machine, and if you have an embroidery module in your sewing machine that you haven't used, I highly encourage you to get it out and try it. I think this is going to change your quilting and your embroidery forever. We'll talk to you soon. Go sew something. Bye.